how about the Italians, Napoli today? They were embarrassed, weren't they, in Eindhoven?
Yeah, it was not good. They brought a lot of tulips home from Holland today.
Hey, Nige. Welcome along. You're so speedy, by the way, from the commentary booth with Luca.
I love being with my family, but I just have to say, Mamma Mia, Napoli. Oh, Mamma Mia.
Best team in Italy.
Mamma Mia.
Best team in Italy. So listen, not good, right? 6-2 is not good. You can make excuses for the red card. You can make excuses for the rotation. But at the end of the day, I think there's something bigger there to lose that 6-2. And you saw on the offensive side, balls in the box. McTominay gets his 2 goals. Last season, though, this is 2-0. Napoli, McTominay scores his 2 goals in the box. We knew that. And the story, but they're having difficulty defending. 2 clean sheets out of 10.
100%.
Getting caught in transition. Now, when you look at them, you say, okay, they're missing the spine of their team. That was, by the way, severely underrated. Rachmani, right? When Buongiorno and Bokama came in, everyone said, get rid of Rachmani, he's no good. Won 2 Scudettos with the club, by the way. He's not there tonight. He hasn't been there in a lot of these results that they suffer. Lobotka in the midfield, unsung hero, top player. Connects all his passes, holds this whole thing together. He throws the party all the time, right? He's the one that allows it to all happen. And then they're missing a capable center forward today, as they've missed in a lot of the big games.
Who got sent off, by the way?
Højlund, not playing because of injury. Lukaku has been injured since the beginning of the season. And then, obviously, Luka had to play up top for them. And Osimhen from the season when they won the Scudetto is not there. So incapable right through the spine of their team. Guys that don't know what it takes to play for Antonio Conte yet. Guys that don't know how to win games in big moments. And then, of course, take nothing away from PSV. PSV was phenomenal from start to finish, the way they managed different moments in the games, the way they played their football, the way they stuck to their identity. I mean, normally you think, okay, this team's coming to town. We can't play 4-3-3. No problem. 4-3-3, fullbacks high. We'll hit them on the counter.
They were flying.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we said at halftime, hey, Napoli, be careful here because this is not a team you're just going to go press. Not playing Cagliari and Torino anymore. This is, well, Torino beat them. But you're not playing Cagliari anymore. This is a team that's going to hurt you on the counterattack if they get the chance. They did it to Juventus last season in the Champions League. PSV, credit to them. So really good game, a learning curve. And again, for the format, it gives you a chance to look at this and say, we got to get this right. But there's a bigger problem going on at Napoli and with Antonio Conte right now, for sure.
Were you shocked, Nigel, to see it that dramatic of a scoreline?
I'm very shocked, especially for Conte's side. Conte's sides generally will be very hard to beat. And Grella moans a lot. They're not pleasing on the eye. But today they weren't hard to beat. They were very easy to beat, and PSV played through them. And I would have to say, out of all the goals we saw today, PSV's last goal was probably the best goal of the match day. When you talk about intricate play, the one-touch play and then the strike at the end, that was just a cherry on top in a performance where I did not expect or see that coming from a Conte-coached Napoli side. There are bigger problems to worry, and I think for me, defensively, how they look is a problem. And I think Lukaku's become a bigger miss and a bigger problem for Napoli than we actually thought he would be. Being injured at the start of the season, we've seen Højlund come in, done okay, in my opinion. I think Højlund's done okay. Obviously, he didn't play today, but Luka is not the answer for me. And I just think, like you said, they're missing that focal point. And they were well and truly beaten today.
Hey, Tony, come on in.
Hey.
Perfect timing. We're just talking about your Italians.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Seen a lot of goals today. What's going on here? I saw the scores. My Lord. What happened to defending, Nigel?
Oh, the Italian strength is no longer a strength, clearly, because they can't defend.
Inter won 4-0, right? So.
Yeah.
We're talking about Napoli here.
Well, Tony was on the call for the Arsenal-Atletico Madrid game, but we were just talking about Napoli obviously losing 6-2 away to PSV Eindhoven.
Incredible.
I mean, even just to hear that scoreline, how shocking is that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the goals in the back room just before coming in. It's shocking, right? And Antonio Conte's side that gives up that many goals. In general, an Italian side that gives up that many goals. Defending has gone out the window for everybody in this Champions League so far, but a couple of statement games today.
Here is a look at their miserable away form. You can see they've only won 2 against Sassuolo and Fiorentina. They lost their grasp on the top spot in Serie A this past weekend with that loss to Torino, following it up by another loss. That's 3 consecutive away from home in all competitions. Are you concerned, Tony, that, you know, Antonio Conte, there's so many amazing things about him as a manager, but one thing we do know is he is an emotional manager. How will he reflect on this loss? Could it spike spiral, this team, do you think?
You hope not, right? Because it's still a solid team. This is a one day, but in a moment, a period of time that's not gone well for them. The thing I worry more about is Antonio Conte doesn't have a really good record in playing in European football, right? He wins leagues, and we know that, but European football's not been friendly to him. So maybe they got to think about how they manage all of this stuff, right? Clearly, there's a want and a need to have success in European football after Napoli wins their second Scudetto in a couple of years. But it's not going well right now.
Well,
right?
it's the criticism that he's had, Tony, where they've always criticised Conte for saying that he cannot manage in the league and manage in European competition. He can't do both. It has to just be one, and generally it's domestic leagues. So now we're starting to see it come true that he's struggling with the rotation. Yes, they've got injuries, but even with the teams that he's putting out there, he's not getting the rhythm. I think after a loss like this, it's going to be a reality check. I'm sure it's going to be the hairdryer treatment in that dressing room, and he will go back to basics. He's that type of manager. When he suffers something like this, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be hard to beat, back to basics. I worry a little bit about the relationship with him and Kevin De Bruyne again, because I don't know if Kevin De Bruyne, he didn't look too happy when he was substituted in the game as well.
Well, he never does he? He never looks...
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem because he is a big, high-profile player, but I'm sure Conte is a manager who'll be able to handle that, but it's not something you want to deal with when things ain't going right for you right now at the club.
You know, the other thing that sort of comes to mind, you hope doesn't happen because there's been sort of a history with Antonio Conte, is it's about the time when you start complaining about your roster, right? You don't have enough players on your team. You got to compete on different fronts. And this is, we know in Serie A, it's not a league that's just going to go frivolously spend money. It's not that type of league. You got to make the most of the players that you had. And he's done that in the league. But for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to figure out. Now, we could talk about tired legs, but we're still in October. So it's not as if players in general,
right.
We're not talking about April or May where you're getting to the end of the season and guys are just completely worn out. So we got to monitor this one a little bit and see how he manages, European competition, compared to Serie A and how it looks for them. And you don't want the De Bruyne thing to spiral because the De Bruyne thing started as sort of a happy thing, I'll say. Right? De Bruyne is coming, great player, started off well, goal and assist, first two games, and you don't. We saw, I can't remember
Milan.
what game it was.
It was
the Milan game
when he came off.
And then the comment after about, I'm not the guy, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not the guy you want to mess with, right? Those are words like that can spiral into something that you don't want to see. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, he said, surely he didn't mean it like that. I would never expect him to come out and go against what I've said. He kind of put his authority down, didn't he, Grell?
Yeah, he did, and he had to, right? If you get challenged as a manager, Tony will know better. You have to, because if you let one guy run over you, then that's it. Then it's over, especially Kevin De Bruyne, who's new to the group that just came off the Scudetto. But Antonio Conte is a fantastic manager. I could be wrong when I say this, but I think this is the first time in his career that he took over a team midway through the season, right? He doesn't do that often. The reason why he doesn't do it often because he likes to have a full preseason. What does he do in the preseason? This is a known fact. Murders the players, right? They run till they can't run anymore because he wants to know who's with him and who's against him, and he wants to know, okay, if you want to play for me, this is what we demand every single week. Then why else are they successful? They're successful because they had the best defensive record in the league last season because it's so well honed. Hey, Nigel, when you move there, I'm going to be right here. When he moves here, it's the expectations are a lot, right? I spoke to Barella after Antonio Conte left in an interview, and he said, I love him, great manager, but I'm so happy he left. From his words, not from mine, because of how much detail and how much intensity and how much organization goes into what he does. Now, he has to play in 3 different competitions. Now, all of a sudden, the organization goes out the window because now you got two center backs that don't play with each other. You got a left midfielder that never play with the left winger. Now there's spaces that are not normally there. Now there's expectations that are not being met all over the field. Kevin De Bruyne is a fantastic addition, absolutely. But does he add the bite in that midfield that McTominay, Anguissa, and Lobotka had? Not so sure. Now they've changed a little bit, right? Rachmani with their other center back pairings, right? Now it's Bochum and Buongiorno. Is that exactly what? Is that the nasty defenders that you wanted? Now they're getting caught in transition. So for me, now Antonio Conte is forced to rotate and change these guys, and you're starting to see that he's struggling because the expectations demand are so high it can't be met by every single player. It can't be met by a roster of 22.
You have to rotate. You have to rotate in a modern game with the competition you're talking about, whether it's Serie A and then also Champions League. You cannot keep playing the same players week in, week out, which is what some of these most managers like to do. They like to keep a consistency. When you keep a consistency, it's easy to build relationships. It's easy to be telepathic with your teammate because you know what he's going to do in those moments. But when you have to change players, you lose that rhythm. But the reality of it is, if you don't make the right changes with the right personnel, you're going to find problems, and that's what he's dealing with right now.
You wonder, excuse me, you wonder if he should, it makes you wonder, should he think about one competition compared to the other? I'm going to use this group of, you talk about center backs, right? We saw it against Milan, right? He made some decisions in that Milan match.
Marinucci.
Based on Champions League,
And
right?
Bookmer as well at one point.
Right, exactly. Right, so you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, maybe I use these two guys in Serie A for the majority of the season, but you got to prioritize what you want. For whatever reason, it hasn't worked for Conte, and we talk about him as a mastermind. But for me, when I think about great managers, there's some sense of European football on their resume, that they've won something in European football. Because I don't know that Antonio Conte will go down as a great manager. I don't know if he wins at Napoli, but he's been at big clubs as well and has not had any success in European football. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, at some point, you got to make a decision on what's most important, because I don't know that Napoli is the team that can stretch themselves over 3 competitions.
But surely you would expect more from the reigning champion of a top 5 domestic league. We mentioned we're live on YouTube. We've got a comment. Make sure you join us in the chat as well so we can pull some of them up. I'm hearing, let's have a look, shall we? Who will win, Napoli or Inter this weekend? It's a great point because we have a lot of teams like Barcelona. They've got El Clasico this weekend, even PSV against Feyenoord, Napoli against Inter. I mean, you would surely say Inter after what we've seen today, Grella, no?
Yeah, it's who's home?
Off the top of my head.
We'll find out in a second who's home. I'm sure someone will tell us in the back. But that's obviously going to play a huge part. Inter have their own difficulties with conceding goals and not being able to play 90 minutes and finish games off, for sure. They play the most attractive football. Napoli will be home, so their struggles have mainly come away from home. So we're going to see a strong Napoli side. We're going to see a Napoli side that they're going to see that game as a chance to springboard this whole season, right, and get it back in the right direction. But if you look at the two teams and you talk about football, it's Inter. Inter is the better team. Inter has a better chance of winning, and I'm sure that the bookies will go into that game having it pretty close to even odds.
If you put it back to your player's hat, when you come from a big defeat like that and you represent a club like Napoli from today, you just want that next game to come straight away. And no better game to really stamp your authority and to get a win, to get the fans back on side and to put this behind you.
Would you be thinking, thank God it's Inter?
You want a big game. You want a big game. That is the mindset of the players. You want a big game because when you win a big game and it's a game that's going to be a statement towards Serie A title as well, then you can forget this. You could just say, that was just a blip. That was a blip. It's not going to happen continuously. So you want a game like this to come back to go back to basics, to get the result. So there is no better game for them, like Grella said, that where you can actually turn your whole season around in that.
Do you think in some ways, Tony, that will be in the back of Conte's mind, prioritising the league over the Champions League, even though it feels so drastic to say that after match day 3?
I think you got to manage the results, right? We saw what Bologna a couple of years ago, right? Was it last year? Towards the end, they prioritized only I think it was the 7th game, match day 7, when they played at home and they hadn't won a game in Champions League. They prioritized it because they had an easier game on the weekend. They said, okay, let's go give our fans something to cheer about, right? They won that game. It might have been against PSV, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, they figured out match day 3 or 4, we're not in this thing, right? So we're not going to prioritize it. And if Antonio Conte's side is not in it, look, this is a very forgiving format. So you're really in it for 5 or 6 weeks, almost no matter what, right, given the format. So he'll have to manage that part of it. But if I think there's, I can't imagine, or I'd like not to imagine, he'd be in match day 5 and not really be in Champions League. I'm hoping that he can figure out a way to solve some of this puzzle that he's in right now.
Right, because surely the expectation is at the very minimum for Napoli to make it out of the league phase, and then we see what happens from then.